All right, let's get right into it. This is a story about what happens when loyalty and ruthless pragmatism collide head-on. We're talking about a world champion, a true hero, who gets pulled out of retirement for one last shot at glory, only to be cut down at the very last second by the same man who promised him everything. It's a case study in high-stakes leadership, and honestly, it is absolutely brutal.
I swam across the ocean only to drown on the shore. I mean, wow. That one sentence from the Argentine legend Jorge Valdano just perfectly captures the tragedy of this whole thing. It's that feeling of giving every single thing you have, overcoming impossible odds, only to have it all snatched away right at the finish line. So, how did he get there? Let's unpack it.
So, to really feel the weight of this story, you got to understand who Jorge Valdano was after his career was supposed to be over. See, back in '87, a serious illness forces him off the pitch for good. He's only 31. Career's done. But he doesn't just fade away. No, he completely reinvents himself. Becomes this really well-respected writer and journalist in Spain. He had built a whole new life for himself, away from the physical grind of sports, until a phone call in late 1989 changed everything.
And this right here is where our story really kicks into gear. The offer he gets, it wasn't just a simple, hey, want to play again? It was this high-stakes bargain, almost like a deal with the devil for one more taste of World Cup glory. Now you have to understand the coach's side of this. Carlos Bilardo wasn't being sentimental, not at all. His World Cup winning team was in a real crisis. They just couldn't score goals, and he had zero trust in his current strikers. He desperately needed someone smart, someone he could trust, someone who could link up with the team's megastar Diego Maradona. He didn't just need a forward, he needed a Valdano.
And here it is, the legendary offer. It happens at Diego Maradona's wedding, of all places. Bilardo corners Valdano and lays it out, just like a scene from a movie. Give me 6 months of your life, and I'll give you a World Cup. It wasn't a guarantee, right? It was a challenge, a promise of an opportunity in exchange for absolute, total sacrifice.
But here's the fine print, and this is so important for what comes later. The deal they made was a pact of total freedom. Either of them could walk away at any time, no hard feelings. Valdano wasn't coming back as a star demanding a spot. In his own words, he was a civilian recruit, basically on a permanent tryout, knowing he could be cut at any second. Keep that in mind, because it's key to the psychology here.
So, the deal is struck. And now comes the hard part. And I mean, this was pure physical agony. Valdano was fighting against 3 years of being out of the game, his own aging body, and a chronic illness that just drained his energy.
And look, we're not talking about just hitting the gym a few times a week. The scale of this effort was just insane. It was a global mission. From lonely aerobic sessions in Madrid to these grueling power workouts back in Buenos Aires with Bilardo himself watching every move, Valdano poured every single ounce of his being into this comeback.
And to really get the vibe of the team Valdano was rejoining, you have to hear this story about Bilardo. It's called the Metro Lesson. Apparently when the players were complaining about how tough training was, Bilardo woke them all up at dawn, took them to a subway station, and just made them watch everyday folks heading to their tough manual labor jobs. His message was simple. That is real hardship. You will never complain to me again. That was the culture of sacrifice Valdano was stepping back into.
And the craziest part? It was working. By early 1990, against all odds, Valdano was often Argentina's best attacker in their warm-up games. But his body, it just kept betraying him. He tears a muscle in February, and then, the cruelest twist of all, on May 5th, he scores this absolutely brilliant goal in training, a flash of the old magic, and immediately injures his leg. Every single setback was just another seed of doubt being planted in Bilardo's mind.
So, all of this builds and builds to the climax of the story. We are now just weeks away from the World Cup. The team is in Italy at their training camp. The dream is so close he can taste it. And then comes the night that changes absolutely everything.
So picture this. It's May 20th, 1990. The team is at their camp in Chigoria. Valdano's in his room with his teammate Oscar Ruggeri. The final list for the World Cup squad is about to drop. He's done it. He's survived the 6-month ordeal. He's made it. Or so he thinks.
The coach, Bilardo, walks into the room, and what happens next is just a masterclass in cold, detached, and ultimately devastating management. It all boils down to 3 words.
That's what Bilardo says to him. Not, hey, you're injured, or I've decided to go with another player for tactical reasons. No, just, I don't see you. Valdano later said Bilardo repeated that phrase, like a robot, up to 50 times in this cold, aseptic meeting. He gave him nothing else, no explanation, no empathy. It was the clinical execution of a decision, totally stripped of any human connection. The pact was over.
And you can imagine, right? This sent an absolute shockwave through the team. Valdano's roommate, Oscar Ruggeri, who saw the whole thing go down, just couldn't believe how calm Valdano was. His first question after Bilardo left was, "You didn't hit him?" That tells you everything about how the team saw this. It wasn't just a tough call, it was a deep, personal betrayal.
Okay, so let's take a step back and really try to analyze this. Was Bilardo a managerial genius, or was he a villain? This is really the heart of the story, isn't it? It's that constant battle between getting results and honoring the human cost it takes to get them.
You can argue this one from both sides. On one hand, from a purely pragmatic talent management view, Bilardo was ruthless, but maybe he was right. He was worried about the injury risk in a short tournament, he saw a younger, faster player coming up, and here's the big one, his team did get to the World Cup final. The ends justified the means, right? But then you look at the other side, the human cost. His communication was just awful. It demoralized key players. Maradona almost quit, and it totally broke the spirit of their pact. Valdano swam the ocean for him, and Bilardo just let him drown.
But you know, in the middle of all this cold, professional cruelty, there's this one incredible moment of humanity. As Valdano is packing his bags to leave the camp, his teammate Riccardo Giusti stops him. He sees how heartbroken Valdano is, grabs a camera and says, "What a sad moment. Let's take a picture. In a few years, we'll look at it and laugh."
And here's the final piece of the story, and man, it's a gut punch. Years later, Valdano gets that photo in the mail, already framed. And he says today, it is the only football-related photo he keeps in his office. Not a picture of him lifting the World Cup. A picture of him in a suit, a civilian again, at the moment of his greatest professional heartbreak. It's a symbol of the human connection that leadership so often forgets.
And so that's what this whole story leaves us with, right? This question. Bilardo got his result. His team made the final. But at what cost? In the world of high-performance teams in any industry, where do we draw that line between what's necessary and what's humane? What really matters more, getting to the shore or how you treat the people who swam the entire ocean right alongside you?